To show you just how dramatic the impact of a lurking variable can be, let's look in on a developing crisis at City University. I've made up this fanciful tale, but it's modeled on an actual case that occurred at the University of California at Berkeley.
This is City University, a thoroughly up-to-date metropolitan campus. Coeducation has a long and harmonious tradition here at City, and that's true of the graduate professional schools as well as the undergraduate college. Both the business school and the law school take pride in their equal opportunity policies. So the Dean of Graduate Admissions was stunned when the student newspaper charged sex discrimination in admissions to these professional schools. As an astute administrator, he assembled the relevant numbers. 360 men applied to the professional schools, and 198 were admitted. That's more than half. 200 women applied, but only 88 were accepted. That's considerably less than half. The dean was worried. The numbers do smack of sex discrimination. Are women unfairly excluded from City University?
There seems to be an association between gender and admissions here. Let's get more precise about the nature of this association. We might think first of using correlation to test the strength and direction of the relationship between gender and admissions, but that won't work. Why not? We need variables we can measure or count, quantitative variables, to compute correlation. But gender and admissions are categories. Gender has just two values, male and female, and the same is true for admissions. The only possible outcomes are yes and no. So in this case, we use another method to measure association numerically, comparing percents in a table. We add another column to the table and calculate the percent of each sex admitted. 198 admissions out of 360 applicants, for example, is an admissions rate of 55%. Out of 200 women applicants, 88 were admitted. That's 44%. Of course, that doesn't change the story, but it does enable us to make a numerical comparison. And this evidence looks pretty dramatic. 55% of male applicants were admitted versus just 44% of female applicants. Is there discrimination? We'll continue our tale by looking at each graduate school separately.
The business school at City is extremely rigorous. Students are often up for days without sleep, preparing financial tables and case studies for class. And the record of B-school graduates among the Fortune 500 is quite impressive. This year, 120 men applied to City Business School and 18 were accepted, an admissions rate of 15%. Applications from women to business school are growing, and this year, for the first time, the number of women applicants equaled the number of men. 120 women applied, and 24 got in. That's 20%. So women applying to the business school actually did better than men. A higher percentage of women were admitted.
That's why I will always have faith in that. She's smart.
Like to meet him in a dark alley.
Down low.
Although the City Law School is flourishing, its reputation is not nearly as high as the business schools.
Now what are you going to do?
Hey, I'm trying to study.
Frankly, law is regarded as a party school, and you don't find many City Law graduates on the judicial bench. Anyway, 240 men applied to law school, and 180 were given places, a rather unselective rate of 75%. Only 80 women applied, but 64 were admitted. Fully 80% of the female applicants. So both the law and business schools admitted women at a higher rate than men.
What's going on here? Remember the table we started with. 55% of male applicants were admitted to City, and only 44% of female applicants. If each school actually favors women in its admissions, how can both schools together favor men? This kind of puzzle is so intriguing that it has a name of its own, Simpson's paradox. To unravel it, we've combined the data from the law school with the data from the business school. When we look at the ratio of admissions to applicants for both graduate schools at the same time, a new observation jumps out. Many more men than women applied to the law school with its rather generous admission standards, while women and men applied in equal numbers to the more selective business school. There's a lurking variable here. Which one of the professional schools you applied to makes a great difference. And that's Simpson's paradox. The direction of an association can actually be reversed by a lurking variable. There's an important lesson in all this. Appearances, even statistical appearances, may be deceiving. Association doesn't necessarily imply causation. The best way to make a case for causation is to conduct an experiment.